This conference will now be recorded.
Leslie, roll call.
Commissioner Eastman,
Commissioner Eastman's here.
Commissioner Ginger,
Here.
Commissioner Rogers,
Here.
Commissioner Warren,
Here.
Mayor Welsh.
Here. Leslie, do you want to read the resolution?
Yes. Item number 1, consider a resolution authorizing the city of Arkansas City to enter into a contract for the city manager of Arkansas City.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I make a motion that we approve the resolution authorizing the city of Arkansas City to enter into a contract with Randy Frazer to employ him as city manager of Arkansas City.
Commissioner Eastman seconds that vote. A motion.
Leslie, roll call.
Commissioner Eastman,
Yes.
Commissioner Ginger,
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Yes.
Mayor Welsh.
Yes. Seeing no other business, I'll entertain an adjournment.
This is Commissioner Rogers. I make a motion to adjourn the special call meeting and go into the work session.
Commissioner,
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Commissioner Ganger. All those in favor or roll call?
Commissioner Eastman,
yes.
Commissioner Ginger,
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Yes.
Mayor Welsh.
Yes. This meeting is adjourned and we'll be moving to the study session.
All right. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the commission meeting agenda for Tuesday yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers, yes.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and have Josh White go through, and I believe Matt Metziner's on the phone too, to just explain the reason for the GIS agreement and kind of explain what is taking place with our server, so that way you have a better understanding of why we are going to this 3-year agreement. So with that, I'll actually turn it over to Josh. Josh, can you go ahead?
Okay. Of course, we've had an agreement with Esri for as long as I've been here, probably 20 years or so. But lately, what's been happening is the security protocols that are necessary to run this software and make it available on the web to anybody that needs it is becoming increasingly difficult. We had been hosting it on a server in-house, and of course, I've been working with Matt with this. But recently, we tried to do an upgrade to our software and discovered that there was just so many changes to it that it was almost beyond our expertise here locally. And what I discovered was that Esri actually will host all of the data. They will be our server under an agreement like this, and they'll deal with all of those crazy security things and all the overhead, and we won't even have to have our own server machine anymore. And Matt actually noted that we were supposed to replace this machine next year in 2021, but this agreement would make that totally unnecessary. There's really no reason for us to hold that machine anymore. That just the data that is on there besides GIS can be moved to any other place. That's not a big deal. And even the imagery, the aerial imagery we've had on there, I don't really use that anymore because Esri, again, actually is providing pretty good up-to-date imagery that we're using. So we haven't needed to do that either. Basically, this agreement would be for 3 years. It's $15,000 a year. We are currently under another agreement because we have annual maintenance, and so part of that, we just started it in February. So most of that, it was about $7,500, would actually be applied to the first year. Of course, we don't know exactly what that number is until we execute a contract with them. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand with that. I think this would make my life a little bit easier too, because I don't have to worry about all the settings, and I'm sure there's several, at least staff members on the phone today that have been struggling with this web map problem for some time. It's really heavily used by staff members and a little bit by the public as well.
Oh my. That's a fucking lie.
So this is more of the services, Commissioner Rogers. This is more of the server to keep everything in one spot on the server, not so much security issues or HIPAA or anything like that. This is just more easier access for staff and citizens to some degree to get and access information, correct?
Yeah, it's more like security, like computer security or network security, those kind of things. Not that we have a bunch of private data necessarily that we're really worried about. It's more of the outside attempts. Hackers like to mess with stuff like this all the time.
Dwayne,
This is Commissioner Ginger. Sorry, Scott, go ahead.
I think Dwayne was trying to talk, but he was muted.
Go ahead, Commissioner Ginger.
Thank you. Is this something that can wait until the new city manager can assess, give their input on it?
Honestly, it probably can, if that's necessary. We're kind of limping along right now with our current setup, but we do have something in place.
Well, this Commissioner Ginger again, we expect the start date to be fairly fast. How long have you been limping along?
Well, we did it. What happened was they did an update to the software, would have been last month at some point. And when I did that software update, that's when we started running into all these problems. So we've been kind of messing around with this for about a month and a half or so, and been working with their tech support department. And this is what Matt Metzinger and I kind of came up with a solution to our problem.
How old is this system? This is the mayor.
The server, this might be a question for Matt, but we've had the server for probably 3 or 4 years. But we've had this set up pretty much since I've been here at the city for the past 12 years or so.
Right. This is Matt Metzinger. We've had this server since about 2016. I try to stay on about a 5-year rotation. Due to the security issues, we'd actually have to purchase a secondary server that would be a proxy or a security platform for the internet. So I'm looking at hardware costs of probably $15,000 to $20,000 for budgeted next year, and that doesn't take into account the software. So going to cloud hosting would actually be less expensive in the long run, to where we don't have every 4 or 5 years those large budget swings where we have to replace that hardware.
Thank you.
This Commissioner, Josh, the cost right now is, did I hear you right, $7,500?
That's what our current year is. Yes, it's $7,500 with the agreement we have today.
Okay, and if we purchase this one, it would increase to $15,000.
That's correct.
Okay, so we're actually just increasing the a budget item for our cloud-based drive, just $7,500. That's the way I understand it.
That essentially, yes, that's correct.
Okay, Thank you.
So this will do more than just back. This basically everything will be backed up on this iCloud server, and then the server, this company or this program that we're getting will also stay up to date on all the latest, HIPAA or security issues that are out there as well.
Yes, we should be automatically secure because every time they roll out new updates, that would be applied to their server. We wouldn't have to deal with that anymore.
And will you be backing up on-site and cloud, basically, so that does that make sense, or will that just be cloud-based now?
We can do some backups here locally because some of that data would be a big problem if it disappeared. But they also have all sorts of data redundancy backups, over backups, and that kind of stuff.
All right. I know that's expensive. I mean, it is a hassle with that. I mean, the security issues out there in today's world, and businesses having to fight the new servers and having to try to figure out a way to back it up. And not only back it up, but back it up correctly so hackers still can't get it. And I mean, that's something that cloud-based, a lot of businesses are going to a very secure cloud-based system for servers and information. And it does make it a little bit easier to access some information. So I kind of understand what the reasons for this.
Anybody else have any more questions? I certainly can identify with losing information by not having cloud, and I know now what cloud is. Is there anything further on this subject?
I don't have anything further to add.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Joe.
Okay, the other item that's on the agenda for Tuesday is historic preservation grant. I don't know if you want to just roll right into that, Josh, or not.
Yes, sure. I can talk about that one too. A couple of years ago, I guess it was 2017, we did one of these grants, and we used it to survey the downtown historic district. Got all the buildings up to date, and even looked at adding some additional ones. This past year, we started through the process of trying to modify the district, but kind of pulled back because we didn't quite have the support we needed in order to do that. So in the meantime, we thought we could do a slightly different project. It's more an educational sort of thing, because I think that's the big thing. There's certainly lots of misinformation out there about preservation, but this particular project isn't even about the technical stuff. It's more about encouraging understanding of our heritage and why we think it's important to do preservation. And so what this one, it would have been in 2005, the city received a grant, the same grant, to do a walking tour brochure. And what that did was allowed you to walk around the downtown, of course, and have a little bit of reading on each building as you're walking past. Not every building was featured because some of them just don't have that much information. But it would have talked about some of the key buildings in the district. Well, it's been 15 years since then. And of course, that survey that we did in 2017 and into 18 got some more information for us. And we certainly have lots of historians in this community that have also provided additional information. And so we thought it might be a good time, the Historic Preservation Board did anyways, might be a good time to try to update that walking tour, maybe add a few features to it. And then in addition to that, also because we're in the 21st century and lots of people like to do stuff like this on their phones or on their computer or whatever. So we thought it might be neat to have an electronic version of this where you can actually embed stuff like multimedia. Maybe you could walk up to a building with your phone and play a video that somebody's done. Also, I don't know if you're aware, but back several years ago, I think it was a group of students at the middle school who actually did a report in summer school that talked about a lot of these different buildings. And so maybe we could get a hold of some of that information. One of our board members is actually one of the teachers at the middle school. So we could probably get a hold of some of the information and add it into. But the purpose of this grant would be to fund mostly the printing of the new brochures. And we'd kind of team up probably with Visit Arc City because they, of course, would be using the tour. And then also possibly one of the other things we're due, of course, I mentioned the website. We looked into a mobile app a little bit, but sounds like from the other people I've talked to, that's really complicated. And a website was probably going to be the easier solution. And we're also going to look into the possibility of just doing some of that work ourselves in-house instead of having a firm, but that's, for now, the grant application would actually be to have a firm outside do the work. The way this grant works is it's a 60-40 match, 60% federal, 40% city. But the 40% can be made up of staff time, so staff salary, and volunteer time as well. So the idea being that we will not have to spend actual cash on this project, but the total grant budget, I had it down as being $18,000. So about $7,000 is what we would have to match, but we can do that with salaries. And then the other $11,000 would be for the printing of the materials, and then that possibility of having to hire a consultant to bring it into a website form.
Are there any questions of Josh in reference to this? Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, there's one final item on the agenda for Tuesday. Next, it's the purchase of 2 sanitation packer trucks. This was a budgeted item, and both of these trucks will be available in 2 to 3 weeks, which is great for our crews. Some of the benefits of them is they will be single axle versus double axle, and we're actually decreasing the amount of yards on each one of these, and that was at the request of Trance Robinson. He stated that he would like the smaller trash trucks for a lot of our areas of town, so they went out and gathered bids, and we determined that the 2 2020 Peterbilts with the 20-yard packers would be great purchases. If you look at them, we're actually receiving, I believe, $32,000 in trade-in from our old 2010 Freightliner, and then $88,000 from our 2016 Mack. So we're getting great trade-in values from these vehicles. And that's really all I have. Tuesday, Tony Tapia will be at the commission meeting to answer any other questions the commission may have.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
The only other item, I believe Dan Yurkovich is on the phone available. So if you'd like for him to give you an update, he could probably give you an update.
Gee, I'd love to hear Dan's update.
Well, he texted me that he was on. Maybe he's not on. I'm texting him here, see if he can jump on real fast. Only other item I have before I'm done is the budget retreat, and wanting to figure out if we still want to do that budget retreat. And if so, with the governor's lockdown, it's kind of been difficult, but do we want to do that in a GoToMeeting format for that budget retreat? And if so, what does the commission want to do? Evenings, afternoon, Friday, I mean, and dates.
Would it be possible to break it down per group or per department, Nick, where we could receive the data already written out?
This is Commissioner Ginger. I think we need to be together for a budget retreat. I don't think we need to try a GoToMeeting for that. And, you know, the deal is ends May 3rd.
Hello, everybody.
And as long as we keep it under 10 people, we can still meet.
Right now, the budget, I think, was May 9th, and so, I mean, depending on what the governor does, but if there is under 10 people and that's how we want to proceed, I mean, it cautiously optimistic, it may be over May 3rd, and retreat's not till May 9th, I believe, so.
Okay, well, let's go ahead. This is Nick. Let's go ahead and keep it on for May 9th still, and we'll just keep playing it by ear and see if anything changes, and we'll just continue on with our plans as they've already been discussed.
Hey, Nick and Commission, this is Dan. I got on the line now.
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Oh, hi, Karen. Thanks
Hi.
for having me here. So I know I was going to give you a brief update on what we've found out at the hospital, which really isn't a whole lot new, different than what we were before. I talked to Jeff this morning. There was $300 million sent to the state, and the state has decided to give out to rural PPS hospitals, nothing to do with any revenue lost or equipment or anything that might be reimbursable from FEMA, but just $150,000. And Jeff, still at this point, said there was no mechanism, no application, no way of filing for that, but that is at least one thing that we know is coming. And I talked to him about he does communicate with Ron Esta's office every day, and it was 2 days ago that he communicated with or they heard from and was talking with Jerry Moran's office. So we're still trying to work with that, and there's updates every day with KHA, but it's just one where that's the only thing we know of for sure that's going to be coming. And we are and I heard you guys talking about the dates and all, and I know that I talked to him, they're trying to start rescheduling things for after May 3rd as far as elective, and they talked with Tom Langer at the community or the city county health department, and he said as long as we stay, you know, we don't get an outbreak, then if we could start scheduling some of those. I think it was May 3rd was the date that we talked about, that you know, we start scheduling some things for people to come back in for some things that would be normally considered elective. And that's about all I had. Any questions?
Thank you, Dan. This is Commissioner Rogers. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
Hey, no problem. Hey, no problem. Again, that's all I have right now. Yeah. Commissioner Eastman,
Go there,
yeah?
Dan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I missed, was that the PPP program, that 150, or was that just, what was that program out of?
Well, it was the government, or the state has they're just, it is part of the PPP, yes. But, and as far as if there'll be anything else, I don't know. We don't know yet. But yeah, that's what that is. Just a kind of a grant that every hospital's getting something, depending on which classification you are, whether you're a rural hospital or urban hospital, there's different amounts.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Dan.
All right. Well, thank you. You guys enjoy your work session. If you need anything, just well, yeah, I'm sure y'all know how to find me. So, all right. Thanks for your time. Bye.
Bye.
Karen, that's Nick Hernandez. I don't have anything else.
Does anyone have anything else?
I know, I talked to Nick yesterday. I know that thing got brought up a day or two in the paper about that septic tank issue out in Timberlane, and I know it's being addressed. I think they decided there's some water into the house, so there's a leak under there causing some of the issues, and also they had their septic tank pumped out. My question is, first of all, I know Mike Bellis has been working hard on that, and I know that people who are being affected by it appreciate what Mike's done for them with that. But my question is, if, let's say they get the water line, the water leak fixed, and they get the septic pumped out, and here in 2 weeks, a week, 3 weeks, they realize, oh, it's the septic lines, it's the lateral lines, not the water leak. What would be the next course of action to be taken on that? I just don't want to see this drug out for anyone for 2 to 3 more months. I mean, the septic runoff is basically running down someone's property by the pool and a basketball goal. And so I'd like to see what would be the next step. I want to have a plan put in place, I guess, is what I'm saying. So if there is still an issue, the owners who are being affected can say, all right, they tried to fix this isn't it, we need to do this. And I don't know if we can get a plan put in place for that, or how can we move forward if that is not if the problem is not solved with, the water line issue.
This is Nick Hernandez. I know that Mike and we've been in contact with the county health department and also with the septic provider. Some of the next steps we've already been thinking about. Next step would be actually to look at the size of their septic tank and potentially have them put in a larger septic tank further to the south, I believe, and then also move the French drain that they have. One of the French drains may not be enough, so they're looking at potentially moving that French drain and also additional lateral lines in the area if this solution doesn't work.
How much time would they give them? If they say, hey, this is still an issue, you got to evaluate it. It seems like there's been some reluctancy to get this fixed by the owner of that property. And so I guess how much time are we willing to give this guy these individuals to fix this problem if it still is a problem?
This is Nick again. We will know within days whether these fixes are going to become improvements on the property, because you'll actually see the property begin to dry up. If it does look like it's continuing to be worse, we can check the septic tank, see if it's full, see if there's still issues. So we have the plans for the next plans. I know Mike's been working very closely with the property owner. The plumber was actually there yesterday, so I don't know if Mike happens to be on the phone or not. Mike Bellis, are you on?
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay, Mike, you want to give him an update?
Yeah, the plumber got a permit Tuesday, I think it was, to do the work, and then he actually showed up Wednesday at the job site to start working on it. The leakage underneath there that comes out on top of the ground, it's actually dried up now. I went out there yesterday, did a visual on it, and it's completely dried up from them pumping the tank out, plus also too the other measures that they did on it. So the plumber's out there working now. As soon as he gets done and he's ready for a final on that job, I'm going to make sure that he's there when I go out there to do the inspection. And then what I'll do is I'll do a close inspection on it and then have a close eye on it daily to see if there's any percolation up to the surface from the sewage. If there is, then like Nick said, we'll have to do the next step on it. But it's a sanitation and a health issue, so we got to stay on top of it very closely.
Hey, Yeah, thanks for that. This is Commissioner Rogers. I guess my question now would just be, just a time frame would be, I just don't want this to drag out for another 3 months if it's an issue. That's my only concern, is if there is an issue, hopefully we can get the owners of the property to fix it quickly. And if not, then I don't want to take 2 or 3 more months of letter writing and warnings. I think we just need to, at that point, it becomes a public health issue and it needs to be addressed immediately if it's not solved.
Well, one way that we can address it, if it does still percolate to the top and the fixing of the plumbing doesn't work, then I'll get a hold of the property owner. He's already talked to a septic contractor here, and so he's aware of it to get the thing taken care of. One case scenario that we can do, we can have the water disconnected at his property too, so he won't have that. It's a health issue and a safety and a sanitation and a safety issue, and so like I said, if we have to, and the property owner won't take action on it, our next step would be to have the water disconnected at his property. But I think he pretty much knows that the city means business on this, and that actually the last week and a half, I've seen more out of him trying to get this thing taken care of than I have in the last 2 months. So
hey, thanks, Mike. That's all I got. This is Commissioner Rogers. Thanks again, Mike. Thanks, guys.
No problem. Thank you.
This is Mayor Welch. Any other comments?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Eastman. We approved $1 million to the hospital on the 4th or 7th. And I think the commissioners ought to look at what items we need to cut that we have appropriated. We voted for it, and I think we need to help them decide which ones to make cuts to, because from all the indicators of economic advisors and stuff, it looks like the state's going to be down 8 to 10% in their tax income. So instead of us just letting the staff do it, we need to look at them too. So I'm giving that to all the other commissioners to look at by Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think we'll have anything put together, Dwayne. This is Nick, by Tuesday. I think that'd be difficult.
Well,
we need a little bit more time than that. I mean, that's putting a lot of pressure on Kathy and Jennifer to get something put together that quickly. And we're not feeling the effect as of right now. We will here in a few months. But let us have a little bit of time to get that list together of potential items, and that way we can bring it to your attention. Maybe we can even have it by the budget retreat for sure. I know we could by that date.
Well, I was talking about the committee looking at the budget that we passed. I know you guys are working on it, but that's for the commissioners to look at our budget and everything we've got going out.
Well, this is Commissioner Warren. I think Nick's right. I think we need to look at that probably when we do our retreat, because that'd be a good thing on a retreat to be doing that.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, we all need to be looking at it before we get there.
Yeah, well, yeah, we got to retreat them up. So that'd be a good place to look at it.
Well, and this Canyon, and the city doesn't operate off sales tax. The 1 cent that comes into the general fund for police and fire is that 1% sales tax could be down. It could be, but as indicated when we first talked about doing this, that they had that and we would not have to cut anything. But I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Eastman, that if there's a possibility, we should look at what we would like to put on hold first.
That's what I was trying to explain. I'm finished, Mayor.
Okay, anything further? Anybody? Forever hold your
No,
peace.
ma'am, for me.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
This meeting is
Second.
all in favor?
It's just a steady session.
Okay, guys, thanks for meeting. We'll see you for the commission meeting.